Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I'm very happy, very privileged to have Miss Sally Steele here with me. She is not only a rocker, but she owns a magazine and she does her own show. I mean, she does everything. Takes pictures. She meets all the cool rockers out there. And well, I'm going to hand it over to her, let her tell a little bit about herself.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you, Kyle. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me on your show.
My privilege, believe me.
I hope I look okay. I just see a little picture up at the top, but I can see you good, so that's all that matters. I hope I don't look at this back and say, "Oh my God, look at the lighting! Oh, I look 100 years old."
No, everything's fine.
Well, gee, where do I start? I don't know. I sold my soul to rock and roll at an early age, and I sang in bands in the '80s in Hollywood, and then I started my Vegas Rocks magazine, 2004,
Mhm.
and I kind of became a fan. I got jaded in Hollywood. It's like, hey, yeah, Jack Nicholson. Hey, yeah, how you doing, Jack? But then I after I started my magazine. Like I was like chasing, Vince Neil down the red carpet with a camera, and I just it was kind of an interesting story how I started my magazine. But other than that, yeah, I did that, and then um, I started filming a documentary in 2016. It just got I just signed with a distributor for that, and then within the week, I signed with Cleopatra Records because Brian Piera saw my videos from the '80s on YouTube. He's like, Sally, do you own these songs? What are you doing with this? It's like I found a lost treasure. So he wanted to bring my music to the world, and I'm very, yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all. So I was very, happy that he thought enough of my music, and he's got it on all the streaming services, and people are reacting to it. So that's very interesting. At this time of my life, that my '80s stuff would be, revised and heard again. So I'm happy about that.
Oh yeah, when I got the email from Billy James and he sent me your music and I sat down and I listened to it and I'm like, wow, this really takes me back to high school. And I loved it. I really loved it. And
Oh, thank you.
I'm excited for you. I hope this really takes off because I feel like there's a rejuvenation of 80s music right now, especially the metal and the hair metal kind of stuff. And I'm seeing some of those guys that are just constantly on tour and you hear more about them. So, I mean, are you seeing that too?
Well, yeah, it seems to be. I mean, when I started my magazine, I did it for to bring Motley Crue fans together and people that love the kind of music that I loved. So, maybe I was a little early, but then, it was all exciting because Motley Crue got together like a few months after I started my magazine. It's just like, that's another funny story. But um, I don't know. I mean, there must be something to it because, I got a record deal from my '80s stuff, and they told me, they said, Sally, anything else you have that you recorded in that era. So, I moved a year ago, and I've got all these boxes in the garage, and I just recently found the VHS tape that I thought was lost forever of me being carried out in a straitjacket at one of my shows in 1989, I think it was, and an FM station. I don't know if you're familiar with all the clubs in the '80s, but yeah, FM station. Yeah, that was like my favorite hangout. But it's really hilarious. I mean, I'm fighting, and I rented the straitjacket, and I wanted to do it at the whiskey when I played the whiskey, but I couldn't afford the rental for the straitjacket again. But at least I got it on video, and it's really hilarious. It's on I'm going to give an early plug. If you go to youtube.com/Sally Steele, you're going to see all this craziness because I'm starting to put up a lot of things that I filmed in the '80s, along with, I guess Cleopatra Records released two videos of mine that I did back in the day, and people, they're getting a lot of hits. People like that stuff. So the answer is yes. There's a resurgence of the '80s stuff, which is great.
I love it. I
Yeah,
mean, it takes me back. I
yeah.
started listening to that stuff in junior high. In fact, I think Motley Crue was one of the heavier bands that I started listening to back then. What, about 82, 83, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally in a Motley Crue, and for my band, it was like, okay, I'm the blonde, so if you want to be in my band, you better have black hair. We're Motley Crue, baby. Everybody's got black hair. And I had this drummer. His name was Judd Steele, as a matter of fact, and he went out to his van and he dyed his hair black in the van. And I go, okay, you're hired. You can play in the band. So yeah, it was all about Motley Crue and Poison and Guns N' Roses back in the day, but it's so weird because I mean, yeah, I loved Motley Crue, but a lot of these bands coming up, like Guns N' Roses, I felt like that's no big deal. They're down at the Roxy all the time. Me being in LA, I didn't think what was happening in the rest of the world. Like these guys are huge. So, can I tell a quick story about Izzy Stradlin?
Sure.
Okay. When I was poor in Hollywood, I used to work on movie sets and as an extra. And there was this big cattle call downtown, and this cool guy had on this pink leather jacket, and I'm like, hey, that's a cool jacket. So we hung out like every day on this movie set. We were talking. He's like, yeah, I just came here from Indiana. My singer's coming out from Indiana, and he would read me letters from home, and he would say, I'm in a band called London. I go, oh, that's cool. He goes, but my singer's coming out from Indiana, and I later found out that was Axel, and they started the band. And I would see Izzy. In fact, the last time I saw him, other than in concert, was you know I was on the payphone at the Rainbow, and he was in a fight with his girlfriend in the parking lot about the car keys or something. And I was going to say hi, but he was pretty mad, so I didn't say anything. But yeah, I mean, who would have thought that that cute little young boy that I saw, in about 83 or 84 would be in Guns N' Roses? Because you know, I think I saw him one other time on another set, but he was with his girlfriend, another girl, and they look so cute together. They all had black hair, and I don't know. He just acted kind of different. I guess the band was on its way up, so I wasn't his buddy on the movie set anymore. Like,
Yeah, that kind of happens. Now you started taking pictures and stuff of what, 14?
yeah, back in Indiana, I was like a lonely kid in my bedroom, and I would just read all the rock scene, Cream, Hit Parader magazines and listen to records. And I saw that like Kiss was coming, and it's like I'm not gonna miss that. And nobody knew who they were back then, but I did. So in Indiana, I would just go down to the Indianapolis Convention Center, and I'd just show up early, and I was the only one, and I would just take pictures. And you know, uh, I remember took a copy of Cream magazine, and I showed it to Gene Simmons, and his whole roadies and everybody gathered around the magazine because he had his tongue sticking out. It was just a little small picture on the page, and they're looking, hey, yeah, Gene, we made the big time. We got your picture in Cream magazine. They were all excited, and they would every time they would come on town. Paul would sit on one side of me, Gene on the other, and look at these pictures I would take, which most of them were backstage, and they'd come running out of the dressing rooms, but sometimes the dressing room doors open. I'd just come in and out and take pictures. A lot of the photos got stolen, but I have a lot of them still. And the door would open, and they'd come running out, and I had a little flash cube. Remember those Kodak things that have a flash cube on it?
Oh
That's
yeah.
all I had. I didn't have a professional camera. I just like click, click, click. I mean, and take pictures. And one time, and I just had like carte blanche. I mean, I'd walk on stage and take pictures. And one time, the Kiss's roadie, he just pulls me out. He says, "Get away from there!" And all of a sudden, the fire and the pyros came up. And if he hadn't saw me, I probably wouldn't be here today, or I just probably wouldn't have any eyebrows or hair. So, yeah. As you look back, you look how special that was. But I had a lot of funny things that happened with Kiss and everything, and so many bands that were just starting there, like Aerosmith, and I just have too many stories. I don't know where to start. I mean, you
Hey,
know, the,
whatever you want to say.
you know, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. I
Oh
mean, just
yeah.
just ask me about somebody, and I'll tell you one of the stories because there's too many. I mean, you know,
Oh, you got to have a good Black Sabbath story.
the Black Sabbath story. Okay, well, um, Sunshine Promotions was the promotion company that when the bands would come in town to the convention center, I would they would give me a pass, like, here you go, Sally. But for Black Sabbath, and this was in, the 70s, they're like, Sally, there's nothing we could do. And I had seen Black Sabbath on, like in concert. I'm like, oh no, I gotta meet Tony Iommi and Ozzy. And I was freaking out because the honest to God truth was I never gave a blowjob. I never did any of that stuff. I just took pictures, and I thought, well, how am I going to get a pass? And it was getting down to the wire. It was like they were getting ready to open the doors, and as a last resort, I started to go to where the soundboard was in the middle of the area, and I looked down, and there was an orange armband just laying on the ground, which was, a pass to get back there. The first armband, they started with that. And I put it on, and everybody's looking at me, well, how did she get that? What did she do? And it was so exciting. I wish I could show you my pictures. I was, took pictures of Tony Iommi. He's getting out of the limo. I took a before and after of Ozzy. I took pictures of Black Sabbath. I took pictures of, I sent Glenn Hughes the picture of his hair. He's like, later, oh, that was Deep Purple, but, no, Geezer Butler. I sent Geezer some backstage pictures a while back, and he was laughing. But no, it was, to me, that was like so exciting to, be able to take pictures of Black Sabbath in the 70s. So, but I've ran into Ozzy a couple times. I ran into him at Lemmy's funeral, and, that's another funny story. I have too many of these because I was the only press person there at Lemmy's funeral, and the manager said, so Sally, I don't know what you and Lemmy had, but he always wanted you there. And so he invited me down. And but I think people thought I was a little bit disrespectful because I was taking pictures at a funeral. And they're kind of looking at me like, I remember Rudy's looking at me like, go ahead, Sally, take the picture. He was kind of upset at me, your buddy Rudy Sarzo. But I was thinking, it's just like, Lemmy would want me to do this. So I just continued to take photos, and I was in the pew, whatever you call them, the church thing set up at the place, and the show had ended, and people started filing out, and there were these people in front of me, and they were just letting everybody walk by. And it's like, I gotta get out there to Ozzy and Sharon over there. I gotta get my pictures. I was like, really, I didn't say anything to him. I didn't want to push him out of the way. And then finally she just turned back. She goes, do you want to go ahead of us? I think I like mowed them over. And, everybody was there, Rob Halford, Geezer Butler. I talked to Dave Grohl after the show because he told this story that I was just bawling my eyes out. And I went back afterwards and I go, can I give you a hug? That made me so sad what you said. He goes, let's hug it out. Let's hug it out. And he's, hugging me. So, I love Dave Grohl. He's the coolest. So
That's actually pretty amazing.
one story morphs into the other. Just pick a name. I used to be a limo driver, and they say, well, our last limo driver drove Elton John. Can you top that? And I said, well, I was Elton John's driver for a short time, but I also drove Muhammad Ali. Do you want to hear that story? They're like, okay, you topped it, And I've just had adventure all my life, and I've met so many of the greatest people. Unfortunately, in the 80s, and as a limo driver, there wasn't back then in the 2000s, early 2000s. I didn't have a camera on my phone. Otherwise, I would have some incredible pictures. And those are other stories that I've never even told before, being a limo driver. They always stuck me with the stars because the stars would never tip. So I was like, Sally, go ahead, pick up, Michael Bolton or something. Okay, it's like I was broke and I wanted money, but, I would always, pick up the stars, and, I like that. And that's when I started my magazine right after I drove Alice Cooper. I drove him quite a few times. And later when I started my magazine, I was like, I go, I had the magazine. I go, Alice, I don't know if you remember me, but I drove you when you were in Las Vegas. And he's like, the blonde. I go, yeah, that's me. I was crazy, man. Him and Shep Gordon were sitting in the back seat, and I'm driving like 100 miles an hour, like with my head turned in the back seat. Where were you when you wrote Generation Landslide? That's my favorite song. Oh, my cat's coming over here. Lover, please.
Just wants to get in on the interview.
Does. He wants to be a star. Come on, honey. You don't want to get in show business. So now he's going to move all my tripod land. Anyway, but yeah, in fact, the last time I saw Alice, I said him and Cheryl was walking. So I said, like, I go, oh, hi, Cheryl. She goes, hi. I go, hey, Alice, it's Sally Steele. He goes, yeah, I know who you are. He goes, are you still driving, Sally? I go, no. I go, how do you remember that stuff? And he's like, oh, I always remember the important stuff, you know. So I've interviewed him at least 10 times, you know.
Oh, wow. I would love to talk to him.
I had 3 of them, I think, were video interviews. Alice has the greatest stories ever. I mean, they have to set an alarm. When I did the audio interviews for my magazine, there would be an alarm clock set. And so after 15, 20 minutes, it would go off. And that meant stop talking, Alice, because, you know, my stories are nothing compared to Alice Cooper. I mean, he is so funny and genuine and humble. You know, he's probably my favorite person I've ever interviewed because he just has the most amazing stories.
Oh, wow. Now, didn't you make it into some of the music videos?
Yeah, me being a poor, starving starlet back in the 80s, you know, doing extra work and things like that. You know, I was trying to be a movie star and everything. And one day there was this girl named Diane Ward. There's stories about her, but she was older. And one day she came into my ex-husband's, her husband was in the band, and I was at the rehearsal, and she's like, I'm going to be a video star on MTV. I go, well, what's that? What do you mean be a video star? Because this was like in '83. And she goes, well, I'm going to be in rock videos. I go, well, how do you do that? And I don't know if she told me, but I started looking into it. So I started getting out sent for auditions. And it's not even in the press release, but I was the lead in the Duke Jupiter video. That's pretty funny. That's a great video. But, you know, so I just got, you know, calls to do, you know, videos. The one for Eric Carmen was kind of Nancy Cunningham casting called me and they said, Sally, we really need you tonight on this video. We want your look. Would you just go down and do this video? And I'm like, no, I'm playing guitar for Jan and Dean in the morning on the new Gidget show. I really want to get my rest. And and they go like, please, Sally. I go, well, who is it? And they said, Eric Carmen. I'll be right there. Let me jump in the shower. What time you need me there? It's like, I used to carry Eric Carmen's albums with me around in the hallway in school, like, oh, you know, all by myself. He's so dreamy. And I remember I went down to the thing. My hair was still wet. I didn't even blow dry it. And I burst into the trailer, and he's sitting in the back of the trailer with the model that was in the video. And yeah, he tried to kiss me behind the trailer, and I was too shy. He's like, come on. Nobody's just like, no, you know. But I've actually got a lot, you know, somewhere phone messages that he left me. He would always leave me these long things. Sally, pick up the phone. You know, we had very interesting conversations. We'd spend hours on the phone talking, and then I think he tried to call me once, but I had changed my number because I had this stalker. So I didn't get to see him the last time before he married that woman that I forgot her name. Can I tell that quick story?
Sure. Tell it.
You know, he was playing at the Greek Theater, and I think it was about '87. You know, the Dirty Dancing thing was hot.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl, she was dressed all in white, and I was all in black leather. And we were just sitting there in the dressing room, and it's like the angel versus the devil. And Eric is just like kind of sitting there by the fan. He didn't want to like be in the middle of it. And she's looking at me and I'm looking at her. And, you know, it was just a very uncomfortable situation. But, you know, he married her after that. And the only thing he said to me is like, you look like you lost weight, Sally, because, you know, I didn't have a push-up bra. I was real thin back then. But yeah, I can't remember if I saw him after that or not. I can't remember. But, you know, he was I love Eric. I wish I knew how to get in touch with him. He's nowhere on. I think he got married. There's no way to reach him. He's just like one of those reclusive stars, that you can't reach. There's a lot of those, but I dig him up. I'm pretty good at that. Mark Lindsay told me in the Apollo and the Raiders. He said, "Sally, you should be a private investigator. Nobody knows I'm living here and where I am." I knew all his addresses and everything. I'm like, yeah, I was, I had a lot of energy back in the '80s. I'd get obsessed with these people, but Mark Lindsay was one of those. So.
Wow. I wished I could say that. I have had a few musicians on the show and they've been wonderful. But God, the caliber of people that you've met and you've had on your show and
Yeah.
practically friends with, I'm
Yeah, and
jealous.
then I started having my Vegas Rocks Magazine Awards, and I did 6 of those. I'm going to do another one. You should come out for that. It's going to be, it's about a year away. I've got the venue and everything, but I have to wait, and there's more to that story. But yeah, I've had like the biggest stars in the world. I mean, I had Nicolas Cage came,
Oh,
Lemmy came to 2 of them. Sammy Hagar, David Coverdale. One was on Access TV in 2012. And so I've got a pretty good reputation. I'm going to have a lot of stars come out for the next one. But, you know, um, uh, after I started doing that, I, really looked up to all these people. And I don't want to say it and I don't want to mention names, but it was just like the glamour kind of wore off because, I'm getting calls in the middle of the night. I have a good guitar strap or somebody doesn't like their hotel room or, and I'm like, this is just a bunch of spoiled kids, you know. I mean, uh, I would fly them in, get them a hotel room, and it was. But I wish I could have enjoyed the award shows at the time because it was so stressful. I mean, it was like I'm throwing this big party for everybody, and I'm the one all stressed out. So yeah, that's it's a lot to handle for one person because I just can't give all these stars, information of where to pick them up and their flights to just anybody. I can't give them their personal information, so I have to deal with all of them directly. And yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, I don't see how I did the ones that I did, but everybody that's came, they want to come back. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's about a year away. So I've got to get some other things that, like, my movie and, all these other things. And, who knows where my music will be by then. And I'm glad that people, have an interest in my 80s music. Under Cleopatra Records. And if you go to my Facebook page, I think it's Sally Steele. Uh, I don't know, just look for Sally Steele, the important one, okay?
you do so much. I don't know how you can do all this stuff. I
No,
mean,
I don't sleep for one thing. I was up all night editing my for my show this Thursday on my YouTube.com Sally Steele page. I'm I can I tell the story because it's so recent.
sure.
Um, I mean, I'm a metal chick and 80s rock, but my daughter got me into the Killers when I was first starting my magazine, and they were coming up. They were in Vegas, so I went down and interviewed Brandon, and ever since my 12-year-old daughter, gave me their CD, I was, I'm a Killers fan. I admit it. I love Brandon. So about 2011, because I'd met Brandon, I was always taking his picture like with the magazine, but I never got a picture with him. So he was at the Cosmopolitan. He's like running down the stairs. I'm like, "Hey, Brandon, can I get a picture?" Sally, I can't stop. So when we did the interview, he's like, "Sally, I'm so sorry. I couldn't stop." I go, "Well, next time I see you, let's take a picture." He says, "Okay." So all these years went by, and the PR company said, "Sally, do you want to review the Killer Show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I haven't seen them in a long time, and so I emailed Brandon Flowers' manager. I said, "I know this is like a long shot, but I'd like to get a picture with Brandon because back in 2011 he couldn't do it." And he got back to me the next day. He goes, "Sally, text me when you come to the video. We'll see if we can make it happen." It's all like, "Oh, really? Oh, this is cool." So Robert took me back there to see Brandon, and before he took me in there, he goes, Sally, nobody's allowed backstage to see Brandon. You're the only one probably on this tour. We're keeping him in a bubble for COVID reasons because he's got to finish the tour. And I'm like, wow. But it made me feel really special because, Brandon wanted to see me. And this was his homecoming in Vegas. I mean, I'm looking around at the T-Mobile Arena, thousands of people. It's like, I'm the only one that got to come back and say hi to Brandon. But I did kind of get a little bit of trouble because I was like, and I didn't know this, but I said like, hey, Brandon, can you just say a few words to everybody for my show? Just like thank the fans for coming. And he looks at his manager, Robert Reynolds, and Robert looks at him and he goes, well, Sally, I'm not really good at these things. So can you kind of get in it with me? And I knew there was some tension. I didn't know what it was till later, but he was very nice. And I asked like 2 questions and then, okay, well, let's go out and have a great show. It was a quick thing like that. And then his manager walked me out. He goes, Sally, there were no interviews or anything allowed on this tour. And I'm afraid that if you post this stuff, people are going to get mad because they wanted to come back and see Brandon. Like we told everybody, no interviews. And I said, well, just tell them that me and Brandon had a contract, a verbal contract is the truth. He goes, okay, I'll tell him that. And he goes, you know what, Sally, you've earned this, keep doing what you're doing. So I was really touched when Robert said that because, I put Brandon and the Killers on the cover and, that was really sweet of them to remember that, Brandon. So, I've got all these pictures, really cool pictures with the background in the dressing room on my Facebook page. And I even took down the one of Sammy Hagar kissing me on stage to put me and Brandon flowers. So you can imagine how much that meant to me. So, that one had been up there for a while, but,
I'd kiss Sammy Hagar on stage.
Well, it was during the live broadcast for my award show, and he just takes my face and it kisses me. It's like just I don't know. It was just we're waiting to go into the next song, and yeah, it was Brian Lucy actually got the picture. He was the only one. I had like hundreds of photographers out there. Like one got kind of a picture, So yeah, but. On my YouTube show, I'm going to start telling all these crazy stories that happened at my award shows. And there's a lot. I mean, just insanity because, I didn't have, it was one person, you look at the Grammys, how many people do they have like doing their behind the scenes, like 500? There was one, I had a few volunteers and that was it. And I'm doing everything and it's very stressful, but I have the funniest stories and, not bad stories. I wouldn't tell anything, make anybody look bad, but, I've got them all filmed and except for the one where the guy tried to extort money out of me. So the 2013 one, I really don't have any video. I gave him half the cash with the other people before and he ripped me off. And I recently got a message. He says, well, does Sally, want the video? I said, tell that guy to go to hell. I mean, I needed the video like, back then in 2013.
Right.
But, karma will get you. So
Oh yeah.
I have all the video of, the other years. So, and I'll have the video and film it probably live on my YouTube show, in about a year or so. So, but I hope people are interested because I want to do a special segment in the show to, honor 60s stars like, Tommy James and the Shondells, Tommy James. And people might be, oh, when's Kip Winger coming out? They might get impatient like with some of these 60 stars because a lot of people don't know who they are. Like, I'd like to bring Mark Lindsay out, things like that. But, I don't know. I've got a year to think about it. We'll see how it shakes out.
Well, I think that would be important because some of these guys are passing away and we need to get some of these stories out that may not have, been told yet. So you might get something out of somebody they've never told anyone. And that documentation is gold.
I get that a lot in my interviews. Wow, that's an odd question. I've never been asked that before, because
right.
I'm a chick, I'm asking like, well, where did you meet your wife? How did you meet? Was it love at first sight? I'm always, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I'm always interested in things like that. But, but yeah, I seem to always come up with some kind of zinger that they have to think about, So, you know, um,
Yeah. Well, when you
don't
can
forget to
have,
tune into my youtube.com/Sally Steele for my Brandon Flowers interview backstage. And I'm also including another interview I did with him years back that nobody's ever heard before. So hopefully everybody will tune in.
well, those stories are awesome because let's face it, when you do an interview with someone, they're they've been asked the same question a million times. And when you
Mhm.
can get them to talk about something different, they loosen up. I noticed that when I would try to do that with them. It's like, we all know you were in Quiet Riot or you were in Rad or whatever. And we, they asked the same question about, well, tell me about this song and where did you write this? And the same thing over and over and over. And I mean, like
You know,
like with Rudy.
is that bad for me to say I'm not really interested in the music when I'm talking to them? You
Well,
know,
I mean, we already know that about their
yeah.
music. And like I was to say with Rudy, I got him to talk about his family migrating here from Cuba.
Yeah, him and Robert have told me that story. It's really, really something.
Yeah.
I know I keep, going back to. I'm not trying to name drop or anything, but it was the
Oh
funniest
no.
thing when I was interviewing Cheap Trick. If you've ever talked to Rick Nielsen, I mean, he is hilarious.
I
And
bet.
I asked him. I go, Rick, we've all read the dirt. Now you remember what Nikki said to you. And Rick just looks in the camera and he goes, yeah, and the next time I see him, I'm going to piss on his jacket. And then Rick Nielsen said, he goes, these are the best questions ever, because I was asking him like, you know, only things that somebody who was really ingrained in the rock world would know to ask, So, you know, I've actually got that on video. Of course, when I asked Slash if he was going to put his hat in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something to preserve it, he's like, "That's an odd question," And then, on the red carpet, sometimes when I would talk to people, they would get mad. That's a question. That's really your question, So you got to have a thick skin sometime for some of these rock stars.
Yeah. And some of them, when you talk to them, you find out they just want to be treated like anybody else. They don't want to be, elevated like a god or something. And then there are
Some of
those
them,
that are, they do want to be
some of
treated
them,
that way. Yeah, some of
some
them,
of
not
them.
all.
Nah, not all of them. Some of them is like, don't you know who I am? It's like they want to walk around and be seen and treated like, rock royalty. I've experienced both. Alice Cooper said it best once. He said, the biggest names are always the most humble, and he says you can't do any better than Ringo and Paul because they're the most humble they are. And I've found that the most humble people are like even like Kip Winger, and yeah, I put his name in it only because I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he's just he's completely down to earth. Alice Cooper, very very humble, very nice, and but yeah, it's certain people aren't that nice, I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but somebody when I first met them, they grabbed my tape recorder. They'd been drinking. It's like, I know who you are. You know. I'm like, oh well, I guess I'm not going to get your name on my arm tattoo tonight. Okay, and everybody stopped in the room. I've had all kinds of experiences. I mean, when I started the magazine, I was on fire, to get interviews and I got to get that picture for the magazine, but nothing's changed. I got to get that picture with Brandon Flowers. I got to get back there, I got to get that picture with Kip Winger. It's just like it's ingrained. My boyfriend Paul Casey, he gets mad at me. We went to my birthday in Laughlin, and I'm taking a picture. Okay, take a picture of me, and I'm eating my cupcake with a candle in it. Okay, I'll take a picture of me and you here, and hey, we're here. And he's like, I feel like a trophy. What is this? And I'm like, it's just ingrained in me since I was 14. I got to get that picture.
Of course.
he's always talking about, let's enjoy these special moments. I go, I know, but can I get a picture with it, of the special moment? Come on. So yeah, I'm all about pictures. Sorry, Paul.
I do want to ask you about somebody real quick.
Yeah.
That's Ricky Rocket. Because I got to meet him once. The only reason that I was at the concert, we had made it a tradition to go after my little brother had killed himself. And the first time they came to Houston on their glam fest, where they had all those old hair bands together, my brother had gotten us tickets. We got to go with him. And then that next year is when he passed. And so we like, you know what, that was a special moment. So I want to make sure we go every year they have the Clam Fest. And just by luck, we got to go backstage. I told him the story and he just came up and gave me the biggest hug. And he was just so cool to me. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really a Poison fan back in high school. But when I heard him in concert, I was like, man, these guys are actually pretty good. And so I started listening to him. He's a paranormal investigator. I'm a paranormal investigator. So I want to.
Oh, yeah. I love that kind of stuff. I love it. I love it.
I want to talk to him about his paranormal investigation someday. So that's why I wanted to ask you about him. Has he told you any of that stuff?
We didn't talk about the paranormal stuff. I actually emailed him. I can't find his phone number. I emailed him and I said, hey, Ricky, can we do an interview? And he's like, sure, let me check my schedule. And he got right back to me. And I haven't heard anything. And I just haven't followed up. I've been too busy. But yeah, I've interviewed him a few times. He came to my award show in 2014 and I honored him. But yeah, I'm going to be talking to him pretty soon. So yeah, I'll ask him about that stuff. I'll tell him Kyle says hi too.
Oh yeah, tell him. I don't know if he remembers me, but because it was back in, gosh, I want to say early 2000s when that happened. But if he remembers me, that'd be awesome. Some of them remember, when you have a special story to tell, and then some of them don't. But that they meet thousands and thousands of people all the time. So I just thought that would be cool.
Ricky was always my favorite in Poison. Everybody liked Brett. And I've met Brett a few times, he definitely knows who I am, it's always interesting. Like when I used to be a limo driver, I would hear people talk in the backseat. Yeah, I know this person. I know that. And to be talking about these stars. And then, I'd be thinking it's like, well, but these people know who I am. So that's the gratifying part in my career, that if you mention my name to a lot of these rock stars, they know who I am. I mean, it might not be a good thing. It could be good or bad that they think of me, but they know who I am. I've just been so vocal. I mean, Scott Ian from Anthrax, she didn't delete part of the correspondence when she said, Sally Steele wants to do an interview. And he wrote, yeah, she's annoying, but I'll do the interview. And it was right there. I'd love to find that email. That was really funny. I think I still have it, but yeah. I mean, I was annoying. I mean, I really feel bad. They told me that Tommy Lee was swimming in a pool at one of the hotels, and they actually came up, can you stop taking pictures? And I go, sure. And I just kept on it. That wasn't right. I feel bad now that I'm just, chased these people at the ends of the earth, but I couldn't help it. Tommy Lee had his shirt off. What do you want me to do? Just turn around and walk away? So.
Well, plus you have to be a go-getter. And that's kind of the downside of doing this kind of stuff, is sometimes you have to do things you may not be so proud of, like that. But when you realize, you change your attitude about it. I mean, you really do. I've tried to get people on my show, and then I would go back and read my emails and like, God, that sounds so irritating. Why did I do that? Or I've sent them 20 emails.
Yeah, they get that. It does help that, I know a lot of the people, personally, but it's, I just know from going this week, luckily I have knock on wood, I have, a lot of interview requests, and, I'm trying to keep up with everything. So I can only imagine when these people are on tour that what they get. So that's why I really haven't followed up with Ricky Rock. Oh, I did follow up once. He didn't get back to me, but he's on tour. He's doing stadium tours with Def Leppard and Motley Crue. I mean, he's really busy, but they're coming here in a couple weeks. I don't yet know if I'm going. I got to talk to, Vince and everything. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going. I assume I will. I'll probably get a photo pass or something and take some pictures. There probably won't be any backstage access. They got to keep because of COVID, but, if there is, I'll go back and say hi to Vince, I'm sure. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your music a little bit. Now, do you write your own music?
Yeah, I wrote all my songs, words and music, and it was usually I wrote the song since we talked about him earlier. I wrote "Too Bad It Had to Be You." I wrote that for Eric Carmen because I heard he was in town and he didn't call me, So if you listen to the song, but yeah, and "Leave My Heart Alone." I can't remember. I was going through some heartache or something at the time, and I was mad. I was really angry back then, I never smile. I'm always, was poor and sleeping in my car and, trying to write songs, trying to be famous. And I would call my mother up and I'm like, I'm not famous and I don't have any food in the house and I just don't understand. And she's like, well, there's a lot of people out there right now that want to be famous. I go, but I have talent. Well, there's a lot of other people out there that have talent too. No, I really have talent, So I guess, it's good that people are recognizing that now because, I sacrificed everything to go in the studio, to record the songs, to do the videos. And, it was back in the 80s, everybody talks about, yeah, we were partying all the time. It's like, I wasn't. I was getting up at 6 a.m. On a movie set to make a living and get home at 10 at night and trying to get my band together for pictures. I'm running everything. I'm managing them. I'm booking them. I'm getting the pictures. Organizing everything for the band. So I noticed that my music, my videos, my two videos I recorded back then, "Alone in Love" and "Leave My Heart Alone," were getting like a lot of hits on YouTube, and people go, "Wow, who is she?" So apparently that's when Brian at Cleopatra, picked it up, he saw them on YouTube. So yeah, I mean it's a good thing, I'm glad that people like the music, because I sacrificed everything for my music to try to get it heard, and it was a rough thing. It wasn't easy.
So now a door is open for you. Did you have to re-record that music, or was it from the
No,
recordings from back then?
no, I had to go through boxes in the garage that I'd had for been moved around across the country and been in the garage in the heat for how many years, like 30 plus years. And
Yeah.
he said if you can find a CD or something. So I found the tracks, believe it or not, and they remastered them, but
Hmm.
they pretty much sound the same to me. And I guess he wants to use them in movies and things like that he's thinking about. So it's all good. And he told me 2 nights ago, Sally, listen, there's a lot of interest. So if you can get some quotes from some of your rock star friends, we want to do a limited release, I guess, physical CD or something. So I go, okay. I said, now, let me put that on my list. That's about, number 35 for tomorrow. So yeah, that'll be interesting. So
Are you planning on going back in the studio soon?
no.
No? You just gonna release this? Or are you gonna take some time off first?
Time off? What is that?
I know, I know. I mean, you're a busy
I
person,
would,
that's for sure.
with this weekly YouTube show, I mean, I was editing for 17 hours yesterday and I filmed Monday night, you know. I don't know. My boyfriend asked, he's like, yeah, well, are you going to like go on tours? Like, I don't know. I said, well, maybe somebody paid me a ridiculous amount and people are going to come and say, well, that doesn't look like Sally Steele in the videos. Yeah, because it's like from 1980. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to disappoint. When I met Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane many years ago,
Yeah,
and she
love
told me,
her.
she's like, I don't want to be on stage as like an old woman. So, I kind of took that too. And I just stopped singing I had a lot more interest in my magazine, and I stopped singing back in 2000s, and I don't know. I just I don't know if I would resurrect that or not. I guess we'll just see where fate takes us.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not going to get a straight jacket at the end of the show.
Right.
My boyfriend says, "Well, just don't throw yourself on the ground at the end of the show." I go, "What are you talking about? That's my MO. I'm angry. I would do that. Pete Townsend smashes his guitars. I've got to do
Right.
that."
Right.
So,
With everything that you're doing, aren't you afraid of getting burnt out?
well, I don't know. I got a little burned out on the magazine in 2017,
Hmm.
and I just took it and went online. It was a print magazine for like 16, 17 years, and I was getting a little burned out. It was almost like there was the glass ceiling type of feeling. Like I've done everything. I did my award shows, but I started. I found this amazing story, and I wanted to be a filmmaker. I'm going to do
Yeah.
a documentary. It was all very grassroots. It was like I went to the camera store. I got a SLR camera, and I go, "Okay, I'm going to California tomorrow. Tell me what button to press." And he's like, "Well, you press this, and you gotta. That's all I need to know. Okay, I gotta go get some lights. I'll see you later." Because um, my film, which is going to be released probably over the next couple months, is Raised on Rock: The Burnett Family Legacy, and I wanted to do a documentary a long time ago, but I didn't have a story. And
Mhm.
this story, the film was created as it went along. It was about a feuding family who I wanted to bring together, and I had a lot of crazy things. I had Gary Busey in there. He kind of made everything interesting, you know,
I can
and
imagine.
Mick Fleetwood. So I had some stars and Slim Jim Phantom, but it's mainly a story about the family. And at the end, I was able to reunite them. So it was just it's a great story. And when I went to film festivals, everybody kept coming up to me. It's like, "Sally, thank you for this film." It's like I didn't know all this, and I know everything about rock and roll. I go, "I know, me too. These people influenced the Beatles and Elvis and everything, and nobody knows who they are." So I really want to bring the music I love to a world stage as opposed to just doing a show in Vegas. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
that that that's going to be interesting when it's going to be released on all the platforms, the streaming platforms to watch it. So make sure you watch it, Kyle.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. Did-
Yeah,
Do
it's
you ever take time for yourself?
um, see, about a month ago. I don't
Well,
know.
seriously, I mean, you need to do that from time to time.
Well, I keep bugging my boyfriends like, "Can we just go to like Lawson or do something?" And he's too busy, with his crazy career too. It's like, you know, I would probably go away with him if he wants to do something, but he's like busier than I am. Just well, not lately, but yeah, he's busy. Flying back and forth with his karate stuff, and getting ready to run for mayor, and doing his Abbey Road thing, putting people's hands in the cement. I mean, it's like too busy, like crazed people, So.
Yeah. But you need someone to kind of take some burden off of you, both of you, and just spend time together, just
You
relaxing,
hear
get away
that,
from it.
Paul? Did you hear? Are you listening, Paul Casey? Sally Steele wants to go on a vacation.
There you go. You need to do it.
Okay, well maybe you can encourage him because he doesn't have time to do it. But
All right.
I'm
Well, you
too
send him
old.
my way. I'll talk to him.
Okay, all right, all right. You can interview him. Talk about somebody that I didn't like him at first, and my mother saw his picture at my Christmas party, and she's like, "Who's that?" There's hundreds of people at my Christmas party. She's like, "Who's that man?" I go, just some guy who talks too much. I can't get a word in edgewise. I mean, I don't interrupt him. I'm talking to you. I'm doing all the talking. But with Paul Casey, he does all the talking. But it's okay because he's got a sexy voice. And I like hearing that.
That's awesome, though. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I don't want to see you get burnt out. But I did want to ask you something else. But I mean,
Yeah.
you do all this stuff. Is there anything that you like to do outside of all that, just for you? Just that's kind of your relaxation time or your getaway time?
Oh, wait, um, I don't know. I like swimming a little bit, but that doesn't happen very often. I don't know. I like to go to the movies. I like to go out to dinner and things, you know. I mean, I I don't know. I should. Somebody said I should take up some hobbies. It's like I don't have time for a hobby. I got a show to do in a half hour. You know, who's got time for that? You know,
Yeah.
but I like I take trips to LA. I like going out there. I like to go to the flea markets out in LA. I haven't done it in a while, so that's a really fun thing. I like looking at antiques. My whole house looks like something that a Hollywood Liberace would live in. I have chandeliers and that kind of stuff. So, but
Yeah. See, like for my wife, she likes to refurbish antiques and stuff.
oh, okay.
So we'll
Bring her
go
to
to
the
flea.
award show. I'd like to meet her.
I'd love to come out there. My
Yeah.
body will allow me. I'll do my best.
Okay.
I
All
got to
right.
get out there. I got to see Dick Berman. You know who he is?
Yeah. Oh
The
yeah.
tattoo guy.
I almost thought it was somebody else. No, no, Dirk. Yeah, he runs the what's it the what's the club called?
Pussycat tattoo parlor.
No, but he has a club.
Oh, I
Dirk.
don't know about his club,
No,
but I know about it. I
no,
know.
no, Dirk. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Say, tell Dirk Sally said hi. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Gosh, I think I
See this
still
name?
have his number. I need to message him and ask him how he's doing.
I would probably have to get on my old phone to. I lost a lot of numbers on my new phone, but yeah, yeah, I know Dirk.
Yeah, I want to get out there and have him do a tattoo for me.
Yeah, he was in my magazine quite a few times. So yeah, I
Yeah, and plus he's a rocker, so
I don't have any tattoos for being in the '80s, and I remember when I was going to the Motley Crue press conference, I was like, I'm gonna get back there and I'm gonna have them all like sign on the inside of my arm all of Motley Crue, and I thought that would be really cool, right?
uh-huh.
And I told Nikki, and Nikki goes, "Oh no, don't do that." I go, "What? What do you mean don't do it? You've got all these tattoos." He's like, "No, that's the most painful part on your body." I'm like, "Oh damn." Imagine Nikki Six talking me out of getting a tattoo.
Well, I kind of like tattoos a little bit.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
I have a few,
Yeah.
a few.
I don't know. I just after that I didn't get a tattoo. I don't know. When I was in the '80s, I was always like I was an extra as either always like a hooker or a biker or something. And the when we'd be filming, the real bikers would roar in, and their old ladies, biker women, mamas would be on the back, and they would come in and um, uh, they'd come down, and then their women would get off the bikes, and the starlets, would get on the back of their bikes, and they'd be looking at us like this, as long blonde hair and leather jackets, the fake biker girls, the starlets, But I wasn't tough enough to be a biker. But I love riding on the back of a bike. I wanted a turquoise Harley at one time in my life, but I don't know. I guess I'm too boring. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't get a tattoo. I don't gamble. Where are all those hobbies you're talking about?
Yeah, I
I
hear
don't
you.
know.
I hear
I
you.
guess I can't get anything that's going to addict me away from what I'm doing because,
That's your addiction.
yeah,
What
I
you
guess
do is
so.
your addiction.
Yeah, maybe I'll get burned out sometime, but not not yet.
Well, I'm looking forward to everything that you're doing, and so I'm gonna tell my wife we're gonna plan a trip out to Vegas, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it'll be
come
a
out there.
while though, so you'll have to wait.
It's probably gonna be a while before I could go anyway. So but I'm gonna do my best.
Okay.
But Sally, it has really been a pleasure talking to you. And you you have the YouTube channel. Also, do you have a website?
Well, VegasRocks.com, and I'm redoing the SallySteeleRocks.com website. You know, I just don't have time to do it. I bought the stuff and I've got to redo that website. So yeah, it's VegasRocks.com for right now. But you
Which
know,
is your magazine?
I correspond with everybody on Facebook. So you know, I have an Instagram, Sally Steele Rocks too, and Twitter, Sally_Steele. If you want to follow me on there. So you know, I'm doing a lot more in that capacity. But yeah, the easiest place and the fastest way to correspond with me is probably my Facebook page. And I think it's Sally dot. I can't remember. I forgot. I'm not good with numbers, you know. I would never be a good accountant. So.
I think I have it pulled up on my phone, so I'm gonna look real quick.
Yeah, I think it's Sally dot 93 or something like that. I can't remember.
It's just Sally Steele. That's all it says.
I don't know. Well, the actual page to find it is something else. But yeah, I've got like 3 pages on there. There's the Vegas Rocks magazine page. You know, look for Sally Steele Rocks show. So you can always find me on Sally Steele Rocks for my YouTube show. So I'm going to start having people come to that page because I'm really busy with my promoting my shows right now because I got a lot of good stuff that people, you know, haven't seen on YouTube. I've got some great stuff coming up. You know, I'm not going to tell what it is, but it's worth subscribing and tuning in because all my shows aren't the same. It's not like doing an interview or something. I mean, I've got vintage 80s stuff and crazy, and sometimes I'm going to start going live and just telling a lot of crazy stories, and I've got a million of them, you know. So
now the documentary, where's that going to be available?
I don't know yet, but it's going to be, you know, I mean, it's going to be on the streaming platform. So that website is raisedonrock.net.
Okay.
And you know, I've won a lot of awards at film festivals, including 2 Best Picture awards. Not even Best Documentary at that one, but Best Picture. So I think it's going to do really well. So I'm really excited when it comes out, and it's going to be on like all the movie, film streaming platforms.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put all the links in the description so people can just click on it and go to it. And,
Okay,
but I thank you so much for your time, and I know it's valuable. You're always busy.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. Well, thank you for having me today.
Oh,
I look
it's
forward to
my
meeting you.
pleasure. Definitely, definitely. I'd also like to thank everybody out there. If you are new to the channel, I appreciate you coming by, and I hope you'll come back. Please subscribe. For those of you who are regular, thank you for that support. It's because of you that I get to do this. And so until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network